Hey, what is up guys? This is Bailey Stein with Android Authority, and the Honor 8 is a bit unique in offering both a high-end dual camera experience and an affordable price. So in this video, let's take a closer look with our Honor 8 dual camera feature focus. Now, before we actually take a look at some sample images, let's get the technical details out of the way. First of all, yes, there are actually two camera lenses here, with f2.2 apertures. Thanks to Honor's unique dual camera technology, when you go to take a picture, the first lens captures a color image, while the second captures a monochrome image. Essentially, this allows for much more light to reach the camera's sensors, which is crucial for producing better, more vivid 12-megapixel images with crispier details. And also, with the help of the faster aperture and larger pixel size, the Honor 8 is quite functional in lower light conditions as well. The dual-tone LED flash is a small detail, but helps even out skin tones when using the flash. The laser works together with contrast detection for hybrid autofocus, which Honor says improves the autofocus speed, which is obviously very important when capturing time-sensitive subjects. Also, we can't forget about the 8-megapixel front-facing camera with an f2.4 aperture. It seems to produce great results, and although Honor's beauty mode is alive and well, there's now a slider to control the amount of skin softening. The results can still look unnatural, but you can always tone down the effect or turn it off if need be. The camera app also provides a bunch of primary camera modes like manual, panorama, HDR, and time-lapse, each of which works fairly well. In this image, the panorama mode did an excellent job with stitching, for example. Not all the results were perfect, as you can see in this image, but the mode does very well overall. There's also a wide aperture mode, which adds artificial background blur up to f0.95. It's really fun to play around with, and you can definitely get a more artistic shot when using it. With that said, it often stumbles in correctly isolating the foreground and lower contrast scenes like this one. Although there is an HDR mode manually selectable from the menu, I actually didn't notice much of a difference when using it. That's probably because the normal automatic mode already provides more than enough dynamic range. Switching over to the photos taken in auto mode, you can see just how well the cameras on the Honor 8 are able to balance the highlights and the shadows. For example, while the sky here is just a tad overexposed, the statue in the center is surprisingly well detailed. Contrast is pretty good too, across the board, and the phone seems to do well with color saturation. Images aren't really oversaturated, but they're still fairly punchy. Overall, the Honor 8's camera captures great stills and good lighting. Here are some more general camera samples taken with the Honor 8. Unfortunately, video recording just isn't up to par with competing options. Whereas most others go up to 4K at 30 frames per second, the Honor 8 is limited to 1080p 60p capture. Colors are pretty muted as well, and the software processing can sometimes mix up the white balance mid-shot, which definitely doesn't look good. There also isn't any optical image stabilization, so it can sometimes be tricky to get a steady shot. Low light performance is surprisingly strong here when compared to other affordable flagships, despite some noticeable noise in dim conditions. Colors are also expectedly less punchy and more muted, but there is still a fair bit of contrast in many shots. Detail can be hit or miss in low light and depends largely on how steady you hold the phone when taking the shot. In an effort to compensate for the lack of light, the Honor 8 selects a slower shutter speed, which means the sensor gets exposed for a longer period of time. But once you minimize camera shake, you can almost always get a decent shot. While the Honor 8's camera isn't as impressive in low light compared to other phones like the Galaxy S7, it's important to consider Honor's competitive pricing. Perhaps the most impressive aspect here is how Honor was able to largely avoid compromising camera performance at the phone's affordable price. If you'd like to learn more about the Honor 8, be sure to check out our full review if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching our camera feature focus. Please be sure to like this video if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Finally, be sure to visit the Android Authority website for additional coverage, as we are your source for all things Android.